Hi Mandy, so this is the first in a series of short films that will describe or explain how to make Ben's Amazing weight loss soup. I'm gonna try, I can't turn the camera around, right, I'll be back. Here we go, this is your ingredients. You need chicken wings, 2 big packets of them, so it's about 2 kilos of chicken wings. Need an onion, couple of carrots, some celery, and then salt, pepper, garlic granules, celery salt, and mixed herbs. Doesn't matter, herbs de Prov or whatever you've got. I've got Italian, but that'll work. This lot will make the stock, and I'll be back in 1 second to show you what you do with this lot. Right, so what I've done is I've taken probably a tablespoon of each of these, a good load of pepper and a good load of salt, and I've chucked it all over this lot. I put it skin side up because that's the first side you're going to fry your meat on, but once you've got all your stuff on there, then you can just toss it around in the bowl a little bit and it will spread it a bit more evenly, so it's got it all over. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our nice big pan. This pan holds about 5 litres of water if I brim it, so you need a pan that will hold at least that. What we've got in there is a bit of olive oil. Get it nice and hot, and then what we're going to do is fry these little puppies in 2 sittings. Packet at a time is usually about right, and we're going to fry them skin side down until they've got a really good, lovely golden sort of flavoursome coating on them. Be back in a minute. Chicken in the pan now, and we're ready to start turning it over. Get a nice golden bit on it. Doesn't matter if some are a little bit burnt, it's all flavour. And you have to get them in there a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, so they all have contact with the bottom. But they're starting to look pretty good, and the smell is amazing. So we'll give them a bit of time on the other side. It's not as important to get the other side as brown as this side, but it helps just to get a bit of colour on there. The darker the colour, obviously, the richer and more flavoursome the soup. So I'll be back here in a minute. I'm gonna fry these ones in exactly the same way, and we'll be back. So just checking in, we've got the first batch all fried off. We've got the second batch almost there. I've turned them over, they're just finishing off on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that out, drain off about 80% of the fat that's left in the pan into a little bowl, keep that for later. And then we're going to chuck all this lot into the pan. I forgot to mention we've got some parsley and some bay leaves. So chuck all that into there, and then we're going to saute that all together for maybe 5 or 6 minutes just to get a bit of colour onto that lot as well. I'll be back in a minute. So now we've tipped off most of that fat, we're going to keep that for later on. We've got a little bit of the grease in there, and then we're going to take this lot, all of it. How many leaves have I got here? I probably only need 1, 2, yeah, take a couple off. Right. Oh, hurry, hurry, it's all starting to get hot in there. There we go. What happens when you cook with one hand. Oh. Right, that's all in there. Put your tongs in it, stir it up a little bit. Sometimes it gets a bit smoky. Turn that on. There we go. So we're going to cook that in the oil for a little bit. It's not much oil in there, as you can see. Just enough to get a bit of colour onto this lot. If this Conti stuff in there starts to burn, you can always just put a tiny splash of water onto it. That will lift it off. And then that will just evaporate out, and then it will start frying again, so it's not a problem. Right, I'll be back in a minute when this is ready for the next phase. Oh, by the way, it's now time to boil a full kettle of water. Right, this lot's been sizzling away for a little while. Now all we're going to do is grab our chicken, sling it in there with any juice, and then just arrange it in there so it's in a fairly sort of even-ish kind of layer. What we don't want is too many of these bits of chicken poking out the top of the water when it goes in. So, there we go, that'll do. A little bit of jigsaw puzzling. And then, we've got this full kettle, and that will go in. Remember to keep your hands away from the steam, because that in our pot. Whoop. Right, that's one full kettle. Now we're going to turn it down, all the way down, and I'm going to boil some more water because, believe it or not, that last sort of inch or so of pan will actually take probably half a kettle of water, and you want as much water in there as you can get because this will make masses of stock. So I'll be back in a sec. Right, we're going to stick the rest of this water in. Pour it in nice and gentle and just keep going until you think it's just about to overflow, and then pour a little bit more in because it will always take a bit more. There we go. Right, that was nearly another whole kettle. Right, so now we're going to leave that on 0 almost, and it's just going to blibble away for probably an hour, hour and a half, minimum an hour. I usually do it an hour and a half and then leave it in the pan for half an hour just to rest, and then we'll get to the vegetables. Now is time when you can kick back, relax, have a glass of champagne, or in your case, Mandy, maybe go outside, chop a tree down, and then by the time you've chopped your tree down, your soup will be ready to make. So we are about halfway through the cooking time on the stock, and sometimes you'll see that these are floating up a little bit. Sometimes I just give them a little bit of a push down. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it's all tipping away nicely. But really, the less you play with it, the better. So that's that. That's had about 40 minutes, I think. Yeah, about 40 minutes. And whilst that's been cooking, we've prepared all of the vegetables. So we've got carrots, celery, leeks, onions, mushrooms, and then garlic, celery. And what I also put in is a tin of tomatoes and a small tin of sweet corn. Oh, we've also got some cabbage here as well. Any old cabbage will do. I've used one of these ones, but it doesn't matter, any old cabbage will do. And we've got the cooking fat that we tipped off from the frying of the chicken. We'll use a little bit of that when we saute this. And then we've got the herbs and spices that we used earlier. And I'll just chuck a few little bit of each of these in when we're frying this lot off to inject even more flavour. And then, yeah, I'll be back when we drain this little puppy off. So we're back. These have been cooking for over an hour or so. You can see that it's reduced a little bit. And what we're going to do now, oh look,
hi,
there's my sous chef. She's not a sous chef, she's done nothing to help.
Nothing.
Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a very big lid to go on a very big pan. And the easiest way to drain these off is by putting the lid like that, holding it by the handles, and we're going to decant all of the liquid through a sieve into that pot there. If your sieve is reasonably fine, that will help. So obviously I can't do that whilst I'm holding the phone, so I'm going to be back to you in a sec. So you can see that went swimmingly. There is our stock. That is like liquid gold. If you were to put that in the fridge now, in the morning, when you took it out, you could put it upside down over your head. It would be that solid as jelly. So we're going to leave that to one side. We've got our pan back on the heat. Don't wash it or do anything to it after you tip the stuff out. Just leave it like that. Now is when we grab a bit of that cooking fat from earlier. You want to keep as much of the flavour from when we fried our stuff as you can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to saute this lot. I usually go mushrooms first for a little bit just to get those going, then carrots and celery and onion, then garlic, and then the softer stuff like the leeks and cabbage. And then later when the stock goes back in, we'll put in this. So I'll come back to you in a minute when we're ready to start adding the golden nectar. So now we're going to go in with some herbs. I've not put in the softer veg yet, just the harder ones. And whilst that's going in, we're going to chuck a bit of herbage in, a little bit of celery salt. Don't be shy with salt because it will need a bit of salt. Some garlic granules, and then a good load of salt and pepper, but I can't do that right now because I've got my hands full. Give her a stir, and in a couple of minutes we'll be ready to put the other stuff in. There we go. Be back in a sec. You have to say Andy. I've now got a camera woman. So what we've got here now is, if you wouldn't mind looking into the pan for me, we've softened our veg up nicely. Got a lot of steam coming off there because it's starting to drop the liquid out of the veg. And now what we're going to do is go in with a tin of tomatoes. They don't have to be posh, just bog standard tomatoes. And then give it a little bit of water out of the tin just to get rid of the juices. And then we're going to go in a tin of sweet corn. And a squirt, not a squirt because I don't have any, but usually I put a little squirt of tomato puree in there. It's not the end of the world if you don't have any. And then we're going to go in with the parsley. And last but not least, our golden liquid. In she goes. Oh, look at that. Right, then all we need to do then, just make sure it's nothing sticking to the bottom. And then we're gonna just bring that up to the simmer again. And then once it's simmering, we're gonna put it down to the minimum again and leave it for 45 minutes or an hour. And then we'll be good to rock and roll. Please do forgive my assistant, she's new to this, she hung up a little prematurely. I was going to talk to you about seasoning. Usually it's quite a good idea to, when the stock is in this pot, just give it a little taste for salt. That one was not very salty at all. So I'm just going to add that much salt, and then in 45 minutes or so I'm going to give it another little taste because this thing does gobble up salt. If you think there's 4 litres of liquid there, you really do need to cram a fair bit of salt in it because it needs it, but per portion it doesn't add up to very much. Right, that's pretty much it. In about half an hour or so, 45 minutes, that will be ready. I usually serve it with some Chinese noodles. Like sometimes these instant noodles are amazing. If you use some of these, cook up some of those, or even better, the spicy ones are amazing. Cook up some spicy noodles, chuck them in a bowl, and then pour your soup over the top. That's absolutely delicious. Or I sometimes cook some rice and then put a little bit of rice in the bottom of the bowl. It just makes it a little bit sort of more umptuous, bit more sort of satisfying as a meal. Or you can cook some croutons in the oven, use those, they're delicious as well. Anyway, there we go, Ben's amazing soup. In the morning, that will be set solid. You'll be able to tip that pan upside down and it will not fall out. And that's because of all the protein, and that's what keeps you full all day long. So enjoy. Bye.